Hello, chess family. It's me, National Master Jesse James, and today we're going over a very fun game, which is going over the concept of develop the threat. This is a basic idea of whenever you bring out a piece, try to make an attack or do something to threaten your opponent. In this game, it's going to be one of my favorite players, Morphy against Theodore. Hope that's how you pronounce it. All right, guys, let's get to it. Here we start off with e4, e5, pawn f4, the King's Gambit, one of my favorites, and definitely one of the favorites back in the day. This is romantic opening, meaning there's a lot of attacking. Here, one of the best ways to beat a gambit is to accept it, and it looks like Theodore is up for it because he goes ahead and takes on f4. Now there's a natural threat here with queen to h4 check. So, a very good move here, develop and defend. Here, knight f3 gets played to cover that h4 square. Black goes ahead and plays pawn to d5. Another very good move here from Black because here we want to go ahead and dismantle or ruin White's center. So if they go ahead and take, as happens in this game, you can see that they're getting rid of it. Now, the plus side for White is that they do have the only pawn left in the center. So, bishop b7 got played. I won't say I like this move so much. I definitely would recommend probably either knight f6 or just a simple queen takes on d5 here. With that being said, bishop e7 was a move that was made to develop a threat. Do you see the idea? This is called prophylactic thinking, when you understand what your opponent's idea is or what they plan for each move. What was bishop e7's idea? As we'll see in the game, the idea was to go check here. Now remember, develop with a threat. Checks, captured, and threats is the three ways you should be learning how to do this. So here, what's the next piece White wants to move, or Morphy? Here he wants to move out his bishop because, well, this is the next piece that he wants to move to castle. So here he develops with a threat. Which one can we use? Hopefully you see it. We get to play bishop to b5 check. A very nice move here, developing and attacking the king. And Black plays the best move here. I know a lot of people here would probably play either bishop d7 or knight to d7 here, or maybe even pawn c6. c6 is definitely the best move here. If you try something like bishop d7, we'll simply take, and it doesn't matter how they take back, and then we get to castle, and here White definitely has a good advantage. With that being said, they played pawn c6 here, and here pawn takes back, because if you don't, you're just going to lose it. And then here, the best move, pawn takes back. Notice that again, if he took back with the knight here, we get to just go ahead and look to castle here. Okay, so pawn takes on c6 got played. Now the bishop must move again. And where do we move it this time? Here we go ahead and play bishop c4. Makes a lot of sense. Here, this is one of the best diagonals for this bishop as it attacks the weak f7 pawn here. Remember, f7 is the weakest pawn when the king is uncastled. All right, what do we do now? Here was Black to move, and he goes ahead and plays bishop to h4 check. And here Morphy plays an amazing move, which I wish I can play one day. Definitely a hard move to find here. Feel free to push pause if you want to see. What is the best move here for White? Here the best move was to play pawn to g3. This looks like a terrible move because, well, can't they just take? Well, Theodore does go ahead and take, so after pawn takes, but this was the real idea. At this point, do not take back, double question mark, because now bishop just takes g3 check, and then you lose the right to castle. Here you get to play the amazing move of castles right away here. Okay, pawn takes on h2 check, and then king h1. This is called the umbrella pawn. Just like when it's raining, you have your umbrella to keep the rain off of you. This umbrella pawn does a very good job. And you're saying, well, what happened here? I lost all my pawns in front of the king, and, well, my king just looks exposed. Although it does look like that, it is not the case at all. The umbrella pawn is a very good pawn because, well, they can't take their own pawn, so your king just hides behind it. And, well, White has pretty much finished their opening development, meaning they've already got 1, 2, 3 pieces ready to attack, while Black only has 1, and they still need to bring out another one just so they can castle. So here, White actually does have a good position. All right, Black goes ahead and plays bishop to f6, a move that may look a little bit weird, but here White had major threats. For instance, you can see that they were already eyeing this f7 square. I could already hear someone saying, hey, can't we just play knight to f6? Knight f6 is a very natural move, but here you just dropped a piece. That's why Black tried to put both those ideas together. He wants to guard knight e5 from happening with bishop f6 and block the f file, which is the biggest threat here for White. So, after this move, what does Black play after bishop f? What does White play? Here, Morphy goes in and plays it anyways. Knight to e5 here, exclamation. A beautiful idea. Wait a second, can't they just take? You can take, and as far as it goes, computer says this is the best try here. But when you're playing against one of the world's best chess players at the time, if not the unofficial world chess champion, you are very afraid to take any free-looking pieces. And here, well, Black went ahead and played knight to h6, which makes a lot of sense here. After this, the game is about even. And here, knight h6 develops the piece but defends on f7. And here we're going to look at the idea if they do play bishop takes e5, as this does happen next move. Knight to h6 was played, and it makes sense. It looks like, hey, everything's good now. We defended the f7 square. We're getting ready to castle. But of course, Morphy is going to keep making threats each move. Here he plays a very nice move to develop with the threat. Remember, whenever you're attacking your opponent, look for the weak squares and remove the defender. In this case, it is the f7 square. So what do you do to get rid of it? Here we get to play the beautiful pawn to d4. Not only does this pawn move defend the knight, but it's also getting ready to attack on f7 and also remove the threat with bishop takes knight here on h6. Well, black saw the idea and played bishop takes on e5. Not a bad looking move here. Here the idea was, well, if Morphy was not a good chess player, he would have just taken back. And why is this bad? Because black can simply trade queens here. And here we have the basic idea. Whenever you're up in material or you have more pieces than your opponent, make trades. The queen is one of the best attacking pieces. And so once the trade happens, here there is no question, black is now in a winning position. So what did Morphy play instead? Just like earlier, if you were thinking, hey, why didn't the bishop just take on e5 here? Here, Morphy develops with a threat. Remember, try to bring out all your pieces by making threats. At the end of this, we're going to see black's pieces are mostly all going to be asleep by the time white brings out their pieces and just wins with a very nice attack. So what was the move here? Hint, it is a queen move. Where do you move her to make a good threat? Here you get to play queen to h5, a beautiful move here. Not only does the queen develop to attack the unprotected bishop, but also puts pressure on f7. And as we talked about, this is the weakest point next to the king. Okay, here black played one of the best moves in the position. Queen takes on d4. Not only does this develop the queen and win the pawn, it threatens the bishop and defends the bishop here on e5. Remember, always look to make your threats. Here the bishop on c4 is being attacked, so we play bishop takes on f7 check, knight takes, queen takes check, and here king to d8. Now for the rest of the game, this is the perfect opportunity to develop your pieces and make a threat. All right, there's two pieces you should be looking at moving here. What are they? That's the knight and the bishop, because we want to try to get the minors out first. So what's the first move here? Develop with the threat, checks, captures, and threats. What do you play? Here we get to play bishop to g5 check. A beautiful move here. It almost looks like it's checkmate, but whenever you're in check, perform CPR, capture, protect, or run. Here, black can go ahead and play bishop f6. And here, well, you would love to play this beautiful idea of rook takes on f6, but this unfortunately loses terribly. Notice that if the pawn takes back, bishop takes on f6 gets played for a nice triple fork here and a family fork of the king, queen, and the rook. Why doesn't this work? Remember, if it ain't check, your opponent can play other moves. After rook takes on f6, do you see what black plays here? Here you might be a little embarrassed. Queen to g1 check and mate. Ugh, you don't want to end the game like that. So instead, here the idea is to go ahead and develop with a threat. Bishop takes f6 check is an okay move, but remember, you need to bring out your pieces. In this case, it's the knight. Here there's already a tactical theme, which I hope you noticed. Here the king and the queen are on the same file. Who would you like to pin it and win it with? A rook. So that's where you come to the idea of rook to d1, but hey, this doesn't work. The queen just takes. Remember, develop with a threat. Put all your ideas together in one move. Here, after looking at all these ideas, you should see knight to c3. Another very strong move here. Developing the knight, guarding d5, which is important because maybe black wants to play queen to d5 check to trade off the queens here, and also allowing the rook to come in to play rook to d1 to pin it and win it. All right, black went ahead and tried to defend. He played bishop to d7, and now this allows another strong move here. Here, there's two winning moves here, but you already know one of them, and that's exactly what Morphy plays. Rook takes on f6. Remember, the pawn can't take, or else bishop takes f6 is played, and the queen can't checkmate on g1, as the rook is now guarding. Remember, the more pieces you have out, the better chance you're going to have of winning, because you just have more options. So, here instead, after rook takes on f6, black now needs to move, because, well, we also now have a threat. By moving the rook anywhere, we can do a discovery check. Okay, here we go. King went to c7. Remember, always make threats. Here, the threat now is to take the rook. So here, Morphy comes up with a very nice idea. He plays bishop f4 check first to attack the king. The king moves away. And now we're going to move this rook because, well, queen takes f6 is being threatened, or even pawn takes. Here, let's move this rook and make a threat. What do you play? Simple chess. The rook goes to d6 here, forking the queen and also the bishop. All right, this queen is definitely doing a bad job here. She came out a little too early, and now she does become a target. Back in those days, they did value the queen a little too much without developing their minor pieces, as you see in this game. All right, here queen c5 was played, and here Morphy keeps up the idea. Yes, you could take on d7 check here, which is going to happen eventually. And this is a good move because after rook takes, knight takes, queen takes, we're going to trade off one piece of the rook for a bishop and a knight. And, well, the rook's worth 5. These guys are worth 3 each. That's 6. You know, you win some points right there. Or a point, I should say. But here, remember, the biggest idea is to keep bringing out pieces, keep making threats. Here, the queen is actually the vulnerable piece here. So here, Morphy plays knight to e4. The knight comes out to attack the queen and make very good threats. Well, here, in for a penny, in for a pound, they say. Whenever you're in these positions, he goes ahead and plays for it. Queen takes on c2. He snacks another pawn, but also has a threat of queen takes on e4 check here. Maybe even thinking about the b2 pawn, which I hope he sincerely is not. And here, Morphy plays it. White to move. What do you do now? Now, we would like to try to move the rook into the game. Unfortunately, there's really no good place to move this rook to make a threat. But we know we must attack our opponent. We know we can win some money here. So he plays. Rook takes on d7 check. And now from now on to the end of the game, it is all forced checkmate. The best that Black can do is try to survive as long as possible. But at the end of this game, he will be checkmated in a certain amount of moves, depending on what he plays. Well, Black has nothing better. Knight takes, queen takes, check. The king has only one square to go to a6. And here, well, remember, if it ain't check, it ain't right. Here, a very nice move by Morphy. Here he plays knight to d6. Hey, he said that was a check. Listen, not every move can be a check, but knight to d6 sets up a nice check. Here you see that the knight and queen are now threatening to go to a good square. What is it? Here the threat is queen to b7 check. And this is the last big blunder or mistake that Black makes. Here, Black should definitely bring out the rook to b8 to cover this b7 square. Maybe even rook takes on b2. And yes, there are some chances here, but without this move, it's just game over. But here, instead, Black went ahead and played rook to d8. He developed a threat without understanding his opponent's idea. Now it's white to move and force checkmate in 4. What do you play here? Feel free to press pause and see if you can figure it out. Or hopefully you push pause, try to figure it out. What do you play here? Here we get to play queen to b7 check, king to a5, and this is where a lot of people make the mistake. Here a lot of people look at pawn to b4 check, and although this is winning, it just takes a longer time to win. After king a4, it's not so simple to see where the next checks are going to be. At least you can find the checks, but they just take a long time. Here, believe it or not, you get to play this very crazy idea, bishop to d2 check. Wait a second, isn't this just losing the bishop right here? It is losing it, but it's losing it with the force mate behind it. So here, well, Black is forced to go ahead and take. Notice that if you move the king over to a4, it's just queen to b4 check and mate, the deadly kiss. So here, the queen is forced to take. What was the idea behind this move? Here we get to play knight to c4 check, forking the queen and the king. And here, the king goes to b3. There's actually 2 checkmates in one here. I hear someone saying, hey, take the queen. Remember the saying, when you see a good move, look for a better one. There's 2 checkmates in one here. What do you play? All right, hopefully you found the last move here. It was a simple pawn to b3, check and mate. Here you see the knights do a great job by covering on a3 and a5 for the dark squares, and the queen is covering all these other squares while the pawn comes in for checkmate. I hear someone saying, hey, can't you play queen to b3, checkmate? Yes, you can, but it's just not as good. Why is it not as good? Because when you can checkmate with the pawn, you checkmate with the pawn. The queen gets to do all the checkmates, so try to bring in your pawns whenever you can. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed this. This was Develop with a Threat, a very fun Morphy game, very exciting. This game only went to, let's see, how many moves is this? Only up until move 28. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed this, and we'll see you in the next video.